Well, you guys, Larry here, and it is time. I have finally gotten all the parts in to rebuild this F350. It's a 2002 F350. It's a 7.3 liter PowerStroke engine in it. And I saw a hose that was just like ended, and I was like, where did that go? I know where it goes. So the reason for all this is it started with an IPR valve. And the IPR valve actually blew out. There's like a brass sleeve that goes around it where the nut is on a sensor, and it wasn't an O-ring. It was actually that sleeve actually blew out, and it was pouring oil out at the end of it. It was like really bad. So that was blowing oil all over the place and everything. And then I started looking more. I knew there was a small little leak. And I took my inspection camera and kind of started checking things. The HPOP had leaks on it. 3 different locations were leaking, which is a high pressure pump. And the lines, they had some fittings that were leaking, high pressure lines. And the turbo was coming apart, and the turbo pedestal is leaking, and there's an EB PV valve that is on the turbo pedestal, and that was also leaking. So it needed to be addressed, and I hauled this big trailer, and that's when my IPR valve blew out. And I'm like, okay, I have to fix this now. I started looking I saw all this stuff, and I've been meaning to do this, but I was kind of waiting for my shop to be done a little bit easier. So I'm kind of doing it out here in the middle of the dirt, and in the middle of the woods. But we'll get her done. So I hauled that trailer, and it just didn't seem to have enough power. And it's a big trailer, big heavy duty trailer, and I plan on putting maybe a backhoe on it, or maybe a bulldozer, and both of those weigh 18,000 pounds. Then I have a lot of lumber that I need to go and traipse after and get. That's going to be pretty heavy too. So when I hauled it, it was like, yeah, I could use more power. Never thought I would. When I rebuilt the engine, I was like, nope, not going to use more power. I'm just going to keep it stock. And after hauling that stuff, I was like, yeah, I could use more power. So I've been talking to all the different companies. I've actually talked to 4 different companies. Got recommendations from all of them and stuff. And I'll show you the things that I got to fix everything. So to start it out, here's that IPR valve. And the sleeve, this nut comes off. I can't do all this one-handed. But behind this resistor right here, there's a nut. And on the back side of this, there's like a brass sleeve that gets pressed on there. And that brass sleeve is actually blown right out in the bottom. There's like a hole in it. And so oil just pours out. It actually pours out the end over here. The oil doesn't come out the bottom by the nut, because there's an O-ring on the inside here, and there's an O-ring over here too. And this is what tells the high pressure pump to pump more oil. The engine needs more oil. And so this is kind of important. So I got that. That's from Alliant Power. And then what tells that to work is what goes on to the high pressure rail, and that's an ICP sensor. And that's this right here. I've had to replace this already once, and there's like a seal down inside there, and it gets oil inside this end where all the wires plug into. I'm not sure if it's blown or not, to be honest with you, but the pigtail that goes into it is a very loose fitting, and with that IPR valve, sorry, too many abbreviations, leaking and spraying up there so much, I don't know if oil was getting around the plug and filling it up. I'm not really sure, but I don't want to take a chance. So I got a new plug, and with this plug comes a new pigtail that fits in there super nice and tight, and it's all sealed up. Then to control, then I've went up in a stage. So there's different stages that you can do. You can do stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and different companies have put different things in each stage. I got all this from Jelly Belt. They were actually the cheapest. They're not sponsoring the video or nothing. He says he cannot do a discount on it. He said it's already a package deal, as low as it can be. But I've actually checked with different companies, because Full Force Injectors, KC Turbos, all this, they sell all this as a package deal too. And Jelly Belt was the least expensive. So I don't know what the deal is. But the thing is the parts all come from those companies. So I don't know what the deal is. It seems like it's the stuff from the other companies were cheaper by him, but then his product that I got from him was more expensive than it was at the other. I don't know how it goes, but it was all cheapest from him. So what I have here is I set myself up with he calls a stage 2 setup. A couple companies were saying stay with stage 1, you don't need stage 2. I watched a lot of different things, did a lot of different research on it. And the injectors in they go at stage 1. I've had a lot of people tell me that really stage 1 injectors, why even replace them? You know, they're kind of original and stuff. If you're gonna go up a little bit, you want to get more power and everything, stage 1.5 is the way to go. And that's what those are, but he calls this a stage 2 kit, just so you know. So I decided to go with a stage 2 HPOP, which is a high pressure pump. So this is a stage 2. It's going to put out a little bit more pressure. This is where the lines are going to go. This is where that IPR valve is going to screw in. And I thought it'd be easier to put it in, because I've actually could have installed this. I got this like 3 days ago. I could have had this installed and everything ready to go, but getting that sensor in there when it's in the truck would be a little hard. So I'm thinking I could do it now, make it a lot easier. So that's there. Then my high pressure lines were leaking on a couple fittings, and I just had those made up at O'Reilly's. So I also got CNC Fabrications high pressure line kit, and it comes with these fittings. They're all numbered on where they go on the engine or on the pump here and everything. And these have Boss fittings on the ends of them with O-rings, and then a nut where you tighten it down, torque it, you can turn it to get whatever angle you need, and then the other side's the JIC. And then it comes with these lines right here, and these are stainless steel lines. I'm guessing that there's probably rubber inside there. I don't know what's going on there, but these are supposed to be some really good lines. They're supposed to really hold up well and everything. So there's the 2 lines that go from the pump, the 2 longer ones, and then this one is a crossover. The crossover really doesn't do anything. Basically, it just balances the pressure between the 2 heads to have the same amount of pressure. It doesn't really improve anything, any fuel mileage or anything. It just kind of makes sense. So I got it. Then from there, I went with a KC, which every company I've talked to said, this is the turbo. This is the only turbo we recommend. And this is a KC Gen 3 Stage 1 turbo. And this comes with a Stage 2 kit. I didn't want to go too powerful because I don't want to blow my motor. This is my work truck. This is what I use for all this, but I do need some extra power. So with all this stuff, I'm going to be able to bump up from 250 horsepower at stock to 475. I won't have 475 all the time. I'll explain that real carefully. But this is a KC Gen 3 Stage 1 turbo. And isn't that kind of pretty in the end of there? Has all these holes in there. They call them anti-surge vents or something, they say. But I was looking at it real close. These actually don't go all the way through. They just end. So I'm not sure about that. Because, and then you look at it, and they send you a brand new cold air intake that's basically the same as factory, but on factory ones it's a 3-inch on this side, and they're like, we have 4-inch, you gotta have the special thing. So they put this included in, and I'm thinking, oh, more air in and more power. But actually I think it's smaller, because this part is actually where the air comes in, and it's smaller than a stock. I don't know, they're the turbo people, they know what they're talking about, so I trust them. And I'm going to tell you that I've had an extensive conversation with KC Turbo, and this is the kit they recommend. They said they put it on trucks, stock motors, haven't been rebuilt, nothing else, and they've standed up to test of time. They don't blow the motors up or nothing, but you got that power that you want. Then to get rid of some of the leaks, I got me a new turbo pedestal. This is this EBPV valve delete pedestal. On mine, there is a sensor right here, and then there is a EB valve back here that goes to a flap that's in the turbo. And that goes in and out and closes it. And what it's supposed to do is it's supposed to hold the heat in the engine. If the engine is not warm enough, then it closes and it keeps heat in the engine. They leak all the time, they stick, the flaps don't open right, everything else, and they cause problems. If you do this delete, you can get rid of those leaking points, and then you all have to, the only ones you really have to deal is here and then where it mounts onto the block. But I got some pretty cool tricks to seal this up, so hopefully this will never leak again. And then by doing that, you also get rid of the flap that's in here. This plate is missing that flap. It does not have it, they don't include it in there. And they say by doing that, then you don't have that leaking point, but then you also don't have restricted airflow and stuff, and actually increases your fuel mileage. And then I got some new emission lines, because the one that hooked up to the turbo from the turbo sensor, the turbo relay, the end here was all split and everything else, so it wasn't actually doing anything. Some people just delete them. I don't know. I figured I'd just put it on. I'm not looking for drag racing here. And then there's these. And these are new injectors. These are from Full Force, and these are 1.5. I think they're 180/30 degrees injectors. And these are stage 1.5s. And I've heard a lot about those injectors, that they are really good. So with all this here, I'm going to be able to put more fuel in, more air in to produce more power. So that's cool, everything else. But then this here is what's going to control it. This is a tuner kit inside this little bag right here. I'm not going to take it out now because I'm going to take it out until I'm ready for it. But this is a computer chip inside here. And I have to tear apart my PCM, clean up a couple of contacts in there. This plugs into my computer in my truck. Then there's a little plug that's on the side of the computer chip right here. There's a cord that plugs into it. And then that cord goes to this little box that will be mounted on my dash. And it has up and down arrows, and it's digital. And I'll have 6 tunes that's on it. So I can press up and down through the 6 tunes. And it's like, the first one is like daily driver. The second one, I don't know the exact order, but the second one would be like fuel economy. And so it can up and down the horsepower of the engine for what you need just by pressing a button. And then like number 3 is like tow package. So it gives you a little bit more. Then there's extreme tow package. So if I'm hauling that really heavy trailer with a bulldozer on it, I can hit that and get some good horsepower. Then there's like, I don't know, remember what it was, like something modified stock or something. And then it's called Street Ripper or Drag Ripper or something like that is the last one. And what that does is it gives it max power. It's all tuned to the stuff that I bought. And I believe that the top horsepower to put out is 475. I could have went to an actual stage 2 with stage 2 injectors and a stage 2 turbo. I could have went to a stage 3. I think there's all the way up to stage 5 or stage 6, something like that. And if I would have done all that, I mean, yeah, I could be putting out crazy amounts of horsepower. I'd have to change the whole fuel system, the whole air intake, and everything. I don't need that. I just need a little more power. Then this over here is another thing. These are called catch cans. And the reason why I have these is because I didn't like it when I tore the engine apart. I'll show you. This is for the charge air intercooler. And inside there's a lot of oil. And there was a lot of oil in a lot of the pipes. And I did not like that. Well, on these engines back in 2002, the government made them put the CCV filter on top of the valve cover, which lets the crankcase breathe, but it goes up into where this mounts on. It goes up into there, and then it vents back into the engine. They say that way your crank gas, your fumes and all that stuff, and your pressure, all that goes back into the engine. The problem with that is that when the engine runs, there's always gases and everything else. There's always a little bit of oil. There's a little bit of fuel that's in there too. And all that sprays out and it puts oil into the whole system, which goes through the charge air cooler, which goes back into the engine and everything. And during that time, if you get a little dust in there or whatever, the air cleaner misses little tiny particles, it gets in there, it sticks right with that oil residue and it gets pulled into everything. It's not good. There's no reason for it. If you drive a semi, you know there's a big tube that sticks out of your engine, hangs down to the ground. You see little puffs coming out of there. Sometimes people say, oh, you got blow by, you got that, look at it, it's puffing over there. It's just your engine has to breathe. If your engine doesn't breathe, you can blow all the seals inside of your engine. So I'm going to solve that by deleting that CCV valve on the valve cover. And I bought these here fittings that are going to go in its place. And this has an SAE 12 threaded with an O-ring boss that I can clamp down to seal. And then I had to special order this nut. I found it at a place out of Texas. Nobody makes a nut to fit these things. And got this, and then it has this here where I can hook a hose onto it. And I'm going to be putting this on the valve cover and then connecting it to that oil catch can. So the line will go, and I'm going to be using this hose here because this is fuel and oil resistant, so it won't deteriorate just like a heater hose or something. And that's going to go in, and the inlet's over here. And then there's a filter thing that's inside there, and on the top of this, you can put a breather filter on top of there. And then the bottom of the can screws off. And so as the gases go in there, and if oil and everything goes through the filter and it drips in there and it collects in there, then every few months, every year, or whatever, you see how often it happens, you can actually unscrew the bottom of the can and you can clean all the oil out and put it back on there. And it has like a little dipstick. This little thing unscrews here, and then you pull this out and you can see if there's oil in there. So this fitting is going to go to this, and then the outlet here is going to go down the truck and go along the frame, and it's going to go into the back of the truck so that the gases escape out the back of the truck. All semis do it. Tractors, heavy equipment out here, they all have the exact same thing. But they made them do this with emissions in 2002, and so that's what I'm going to be installing. That way I'm not pumping this oil and fuel back into my intake system and dirtying up everything. Because a clean turbo runs better. I know some people say, oh, it's supposed to have that oil in there, lubricates the turbo. No, it doesn't. If your turbo is putting out oil, that means your seals are blown inside your turbo. Because the oil is in here lubricating the bearing. That's all it does. And so if you have oil going through there, and you got oil in your intercharge pipes, and all in your intake and everything, you got a problem. So I'm going to take off this problem, and I'm going to put this on there. And then you may be looking at this, and if you know anything about these, you may be going, oh, that's too small. This is the exact same size of the pipe that goes up into the air intake. So that's the same amount. It's the same thing. But I do like the idea of the engine breathing well. So what I did is I bought two of them, and I'm actually going to install one on the passenger valve cover and on the driver's side valve cover, and put two catch cans, two breather hoses. That way, something ever happens, something plugs up or whatever, there's always another one. There's always a backup. And all this stuff, I purchased all of my own money. What you're looking at here is over $5,000. But she should fix up this F350, make it run real well. And then, of course, can't forget this. I'm finally going to have a turn signal that's not broken. When I got jackknifed with my trailer here, this plastic bracket broke. And so the thing is kind of loose, and it's supposed to pop into these little grommets. But without that bolt holding it on there, it always pops out. And I constantly, as I walk by, I always pop this thing back in. So I found this on Parts Geek, I think, or was it super cheap. It was like 15 bucks, 18 bucks. And then I got these here fancy chrome hubcaps. I've never actually had the chrome hubcaps for that truck, or since I've owned it. So I've always had two. So now I have the rear and the front. And as you can see, they don't have the Ford emblem on there. Hey, I don't care. I don't need to pay an extra $100 for say Ford. So I'll show you something else. Sorry about the generator running, but I need power and everything. So I got the generator running, but I got some brand new tires. So I went and picked these up yesterday. I dropped them off and everything. I pulled the old rims off and cleaned them all up, wire brushed them all up and everything, and repainted everything and got it all cleaned up. This is the inner one. It's the original steel. The outer one was an aluminum rim, but it had gotten damaged when I got jackknifed, and this damage happened on the side of the truck, and the rim got damaged, and I knew they wouldn't change the tire. So I actually went out and bought 2 more of these steel inner rims and just swapped it around, and then I cleaned it all up, and I actually painted the inside of it with bed liner paint so it matches the rest of the truck. And then I'm going to put that chrome hubcap in the center of it. I think it'll look good, and it'll be durable. Bed liner paint. So it'll kind of match the whole truck and everything with all the bed liner. And since I took this off, I actually redid the brakes in the front, I would say about 3 months ago, or not even now, probably 2 months ago, when I put the new front tires on, and I redid the whole brake system in the front, put all new calipers, rotors, everything all on it, and put those brand new tires on the front. I am gonna take those off when I get this all done and pulled off the ramps. I'm gonna scuff up those aluminum rims with some 80 grit, and I'm gonna actually spray the front ones with black bed liner too. But when I took these all off back here and everything else, my brake pads back here are just under a 1/4 inch thick, and I'm thinking since I got this all apart, it'd be better off. So I have new brake pads coming. They should be here today. O'Reilly's, they didn't have the pro versions, but I'm hauling so much weight. I want to go with the heavy duty ones. That's what I did with the front, and so I want to put those in the back. I don't need new rotors or nothing like that. This is all good back here and everything. But I'm gonna put new brake pads in there now. It's easy now. You just gotta take the pressure off and 2 bolts, and the brake caliper come off, and put the new hardware and slap it back on. Pretty easy. So that way it'll have all new tread on the back too. So I'm taking apart all the wire harness here. I'm basically just going to lay it over the side of the engine, get it out of my way so I can easily work down in there. And this is that ICP right down here. And I don't know if you're going to be able to see this or not, but see how loose that is? There's just no seal left in there. It just doesn't fit. In fact, there's no rubber seal in there. So that could be the possibility of why there's oil in there. But I don't want to chance it. It was just a kit. It came with the new wire harness and everything, so I'll be replacing that wire harness with it. So this is the air intake, and I know it's kind of dark, guys. Doing the best I can here. But this is the air inlet, and this is where it goes up in there. You can see it's the exact same size. That's what that is. So if somebody's saying it's not going to breathe enough, it's the same exact size. So it's the same amount of volume that's going to be going through there. And I have seen some things online where people say, well, you can't do this because then this is a suction. It creates a suction and sucks the air out, and it creates more breathing and stuff. It's actually no. The air goes this way, and it has this whole cup built here that holds that, so it doesn't. So it doesn't do it. It actually, the air goes in this way. When the turbo spools up, it's sucking air in. It's actually it's like a cup facing forward. Actually, air is gonna go down in, and it's gonna slow down the pressure. So the way that I'm gonna seal this up on the bottom of here, so that this doesn't have this anymore, is I got some red ATV. And I'm just gonna put it all in here. Put that in there. And this is actually a plug off of hydraulics, a hydraulic fitting that I had gotten. And it fits right perfect in there. Just like so. So now it is all done. And then, what do I do with it? I lost it. I have another hydraulic fitting plug. But I don't know what I did with it. Oh, here it is. This one here, I'm going to put over the outside, and then I'm going to put a hose clamp over the top of it. So I'm going to put this and the reason why I'm doing this now is so that this RTV has time to set up. So I'll just put a nice bead of silicone around it and just squeeze that down on there. And then I'm going to take a hose clamp and put a hose clamp around it and tighten that up. So I have one on the inner of it that has a lip on it that can't pull through. And then I have this one on the outside that holds the whole thing too. And I will probably actually put some silicone down inside there and kind of fill that void up. I'll probably just put a little bit, wait a couple hours, and then put a little bit more so it has time to dry. I've cleaned the whole inside of this out with brake cleaner, and so that's what I'm doing. So I got the wire harness moved out of the way, and right here is your fuel bowl. I have a new fuel filter coming for that. I'm leaving the original fuel filter system in there. I'm not going to some crazy power here. I'm just increasing it. Not going to burn the tires off power. But right here is where you can see the ICP, or the IPR valve. Here's the ICP. This fitting right here was loose. It was loose and stuff, so that's where it was leaking out of. I think that's where my leak has been for a while. When I tried to take the hose off, it was just loose. So that wasn't in there. It's leaking off the bottom too. There's a plate back here and it's leaking out of there. This ICP or IPR valve right here, it was just pouring off right here at this nut. And so this little resistor here thing is supposed to turn, and it's completely corroded on there. But yeah, so that's where that is. And so there's the big bolts in the front. I got to take that plate off, and then 3 bolts down in here that are on this high pressure pump, and then I will clean everything, and then I can install the new one. All right, we got our 2 bolts for HPOP. Let's show this. Got it wedged in there. There we go. And there we go. So I have the new HPOP all put in there. Gasket's all in there, bolts are all in there. It's snugged up a little bit tight. And I got the IPR valve in there, but I don't have it torqued. I had no way to hold it while I torqued it. So I need to torque down the HPOP bolts, and I guess they are 18 foot-pounds. So the IPR is at 35 foot-pounds torque. And what is this, 1 1/8 inch? Yeah, 1 1/8 inch socket, but it was just not quite deep enough to get over the stem. So I took a 1/2 inch drill bit and I drilled out inside the socket. And that gives it just enough room that you can slip it on there. Just like that. And there we go. It was right there. I was trying on the bench.
I was holding it and trying to turn it in, but couldn't get it to go in. All right, I have gotten the HPOP all in. I have all the lines run. The hose ends are not tightened though, but everything, all the fittings are torqued into place. I figured I'd get them where they have to go and then torque in the fittings. So basically, this is this nut, like on the bottom here on this fitting, there's an O-ring behind it. It's a Boss type. And so you got to torque that down. These right here were 23 foot-pounds. The ones on the head were 20, or on the pump itself were 28 foot-pounds. And then all these hose ends will have to be torqued down, and they want them to 21 foot-pounds. So they gave me, they didn't give me any instructions with this. And so I contacted the company. I'm like, how about some torque values and instructions and stuff? You know, I like to have those from the manufacturer. And they emailed these to me. And that's an older model. This is the newer one. It's a 99, basically the 03. And you can see how the hoses are run there. And that's what I have. That's what I have set up. So I have everything all ready to go. So, well, this isn't fun. Whoever that past mechanic who did this, it's not good. I've actually had to tear the turbo apart. This is the valve that I'm deleting. This is that EBP valve. And actually I had to tear it off of there because the clamp for the up pipes, so the clamps for the up pipe is going up. It's back there. I don't know if you can see it or not. But it's back there in the firewall, and I cannot get it. For some reason, I was the mechanic who worked on this. I put this in here. I built this engine and then set the cab on it without thinking. So the clamp, the threads go up and down and end right into the firewall. They actually should go this way. And then I can go around the backside of the turbo with a swivel and everything with a socket and put it on there and take the clamp off. But now I can't. So I had to take that part of the turbo apart. Luckily enough, the turbo bolts are all coming out of it and they were pretty loose. But this is that ABP valve. So this is going to be deleted on the next one. So I got that out. Not fun. I have been working at this for a while. But now I can actually get there. I can push the exhaust pipe to the side and I can actually get a wrench in there. It's going to be a lot of wrenching. It's a long bolt. All right, guys. I did it. It took me like 2 hours to get that clamp off of there. I did get it. See how the bolt part of it, the clamp, is going up? It's actually supposed to be going this way, so that you can come in from that side with a socket and an extension and a wobble and stuff and get it off. Yeah. I'm hoping that the Y pipe here, because I mean the Y pipes are all brand new, and I put these flexible ones on here. They were a little bit of an upgrade thing, and I put these on here and stuff, and I'm hoping that it all lines up to this new turbo. Alright guys, time to pop some injectors. Problem is my oil rail, high pressure oil rail, is gonna be full of oil. When I pop these off, oil is gonna go down in the cylinder. You can actually, there's plugs right here, one back there, that you can actually take out. I wonder if I can get the one on the back. I didn't even try. The one in the back would be fine. It's not the right size. The one up in the front, I can't even get it to budge. I don't know, maybe. Let's give it a shot. What's the worst that can happen? If you can get these out, you can let this all drain. It won't eliminate the oil going into the cylinders. Oh, I got it. This won't eliminate all the oil going into the cylinders, but it will drain that high pressure spot. And it'll drain this rail and it'll soak all back down into the engine, down into the oil pan. This one here, I've been trying to work on it. I can't get it to come out. But that one's lower because the truck is leaning that way, so that's going to work fine. So I'm going to let this drain. You guys probably can't even see it on there, but it's just a little tiny plug. I'm going to let this drain for like 10-15 minutes and get all the oil out I can. There's still going to be some oil, but it's not going to be like what it was. All right, we got our plug back in. We let her drain for a good long time. All the oil seemed to come out of there. So now I got to pull off this little drain tube off the injector. Right now is not the time to drop things down in there. This little thing right here, it goes out and it drains it, it drops it down back into the block so that it will go back down. Ouch. And then there's a 8mm bolt on the bottom that holds the injector. There's one on top too, but you don't take the top one off. Go. You pull that bolt out. And then there's a metal plate on here. You just push it up. And then you just take a pry bar, put it under the injector, and you just pop it up. Just like so. I gotta kind of speak over the generator. So this is a fluid extractor. This is basically a big syringe. At the tip, small enough to go down inside the injector port into the piston. And a little bit. Very important to get this out. If you don't, and you drop the new injectors in there, you can hydrolock the motor. Then push rods, connecting rods. Okay, not very much in that one. Alright guys, so now we can just reinstall these. And you want to dump oil, clean oil, all over these O-rings. Right here and here and here. And you want to make sure that there's a copper washer on here. And it does not fall off. So it doesn't fall off there. So you can see how this thing works on here. This thing slides up and down. So you slide this up like that. And then you want to make sure the tip is off too, because they come with a package. They come with this like rubber tip on there. Then you just put it down in there. You just let it go down in. Let's give her a good tap. There she goes. She wasn't in there yet. And so then we take our bolt, making sure not to drop something. This would not be a good time. 10 foot-pounds. There we go. We got 10.1. And then we can put the deflector back in. And this is 9 foot-pounds. And then there we go. So that is good. So now I'm going to go through and do the rest of them. Put the other 3 on this side. And then I'm actually going to be pulling the glow plugs out. I'm going to pull the glow plugs out of it. I'm leaving the glow plugs in that are in here. But I'm going to pull the glow plugs out, and then I'm going to crank the motor over just as a safety precaution. And then put the glow and evacuate again out of the glow plug holes, and then crank it over a couple times and by hand, and then put it all back together. Put the glow plugs back in, wire harness, all that stuff.
Well guys, I got the injectors done last night, and on this side, I haven't even started that side. I'm very sore, so I did that. Worked till about 7:30 last night. Got one day done on here. Was hoping to get all the injectors put in there and stuff, but didn't get that far. And maybe even get the turbo in. So today I could do, you know, the PCM and button everything up and fire this beast up. Do the brakes, but that was the plan, but I didn't get that far. But anyways, I got to these valve covers, and this is the deal. So this is a valve cover. This deal right here is actually mounted under the valve cover. These are the holes, the vent holes right there. And then it mounts this way, like that. And it gives it a screw hole and stuff, and they were just tack welded on there. And that went across. And then this is the CCV filter, and this was going on here, and then you have your hose that goes up into your intake. It puts all that stuff in there. You can see how grungy and everything else this thing is. It's just coated with funk. So basically this is your vent line right here. I don't like that. So I've done a bunch of thinking on it, went home, looked at things and everything else, and this is what I come on. So this is these filters I got. The problem is the hole's too big. I need it to be the exact size of this because there's an O-ring that's on the bottom here, and then so I put this through, and then there's a nut that goes on the bottom, and when I pull it down I want it to seal, so otherwise it'll have oil and stuff coming out of here and leaking. So that's not going to work, so I got to fix that. So I went today, I didn't have the right hole saw, and I found a hole saw that is exactly the same measurement as that hole. So I'm going to cut 2 circles with the hole saw to some scrap metal, put it in the valve cover here, and weld it all in. And then grind this all flat, make it look nice and everything, and weld it and seal it all up. And then I have my that Vivor magnetic base drill, and I don't know what you call it. I can't think right now. It's got a bit in there. It's a machine bit or whatever, a hole bit thing. And it's the exact size. I measured it with my chronometer. It's the exact size as the threaded part here. So then I'm going to go through it, and I'm going to drill a hole in this one. This one right here lands right in between 2 injectors. So I'm going to put that in there, and then that'll go in, and I'll be able to put the nut on there, and that seals it all up. I'll repaint it all up. This one over here, I'm just going to put solid. Then when I go to do the other side, all I got to do is drill a hole in that one, because that valve cover has no holes in it, because it only vents on one side of the engine. So the valve cover on that side, I'll just drill a hole and put the other one in there, and I can route the catch cans and everything on that side. Well guys, I got this all welded up. Got that plate put in there. Got it ground off pretty smooth. Got it all welded up underneath there, and I welded wherever there was a spot weld where the contraption was underneath there to screw it on. Now I'm going to use this Vivor magnetic base. I'm going to stick it right onto here and drill a hole right here. And that's going to be this exact same size, and that will go right there. Well, here's the passenger side valve cover. Got the fitting all on there, and it's going to be pointing out right by the oil fill. You can see it up inside there, nice and clean. Guys, valve covers are on. You can see my vent line over there. Goes out right where I want it to. Get that one over there. Got the turbo pedestal put in there. That's a lot easier than the other one. And this one nice and straight. Put a straight edge across top just to check it. It's brand new, but just check it. Nice and straight. So I'm actually going to be fitting the turbo on there dry. I'm not going to put the O-rings in. And that's a kind of a pain in the butt, but because it's heavy and awkward. But the Y pipes in the back, that right there, I need to make sure that it lines up, because if it doesn't line up, I got to loosen bolts so that I can turn something. I got these flexible Y pipes on here, should work, but if that doesn't line up perfectly, then I can have a leak there, and I'll get rid of my boost. Well, there's the heart of the beast right there. It is in. Whew. It was not fun, actually, guys. I worked on this last night, and I got these valves all done over. I got these injectors done on the passenger side and everything, and got the new vent and everything put in. And I'm all situated with that, all the stuff. So I start sealing things up, and I'm like, okay, next is turbo. And then I can torque all these hoses down, and then start with the wiring harness and stuff. I may have to run the wiring harness first. I got to see how that works, if it goes under those hoses or over. But so that stuff would be next. And so I'm like, okay, time to put in this new pedestal, and the CBP valve delete pedestal, and to put in this KC Gen 3 turbo. And
If you've never worked on these, the up pipes in the back, there's two pipes that come up along the back of the engine. They wrap around basically the transmission, and they come up to a Y adapter thing that's mounted on top of them, and that bolts onto the back of this part of the turbo. And that has to be perfect. If it's not perfect, then basically you lose all your boost. And I decided, I put the pedestal in, and then I decided to dry fit it without the O-rings, the turbo on it, and very carefully set it in there and set it in place and make sure everything lines up before I go for the O-rings or anything. And if I have to twist things around, move things around, you know, damage an O-ring or something. I put it in there. It wasn't even close. It was not matching up. There was a big gap on the top of it, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see it or not. I'll try to hold the camera on my... Let's see, I can't do that. Let's see if I do. I put this way. It's right there. There's a clamp that goes around the back. That's the clamp that I put on wrong when I installed this engine, and I put it facing up into the firewall. It was supposed to be facing this direction so you can get a socket back there and take it off. Had to tear that old turbo apart on the truck to be able to get to it, but I got it, and now I have it facing the right direction. But that was not even close, and there was a big gap on the top and stuff, and you can think, well, it's a clamp and it pulls it together, but it wouldn't do it. And if you have a boost, if you have a leak there, those two pipes come right off the exhaust manifold, and that's where your boost is built. So if there's a leak, it's just going to leak out of there, and you're not going to have a boost. So all this money and all this time I'm putting into this would have been for nothing. So I worked on this last night, and I started putting the bolts in, trying to get it to where it's going to be, and it's a dry fit. And I kind of had them started. They seemed like they were threading in, like I had a couple threads in there. And then I just put a ratchet on it, and I just was going to give them a couple more twists to make sure it didn't damage any threads. And they seemed like they were going in really super hard. And so I stopped, and I pulled the back apart and tried to thread the bolts in without it, and they wouldn't go in. And I'm like, I just cross-threaded the holes. I was very angry. It was getting dark, and I was like, I got to go. So I went home, took a night off, came back out today, and the first thing I did was pray. I asked God, just open my mind, let me see things, guide my hands, and just help me. And I pulled the pedestal off, and I brought my metric taps, and it's a 10 by 1.5. And pulled it off, and I took it in a container, and I sat there with the tap, and I started it, and it was nice and straight, and just threaded it down in, and it went in perfectly straight. But as soon as I got past where my threads were that I had to bolt in, it was like harder. And it wasn't cross-threading, it was going in, but it was just harder. I don't know. I don't think the threads were very clean in the pedestal, because I ran them down it, and they went in nice and solid. Tap went in fine. Wasn't binding or nothing, and I ran it in a couple times and stuff, and then the bolts went right in. I inspected them, blew them all out, looked down in there, the threads were perfect. There was nothing that was crossed. I don't think that the threads were cleaned up very good. And so I got the bolts all, that was all good. So I put the pedestal back in, and I started looking at things, and the pedestal, when you put the 4 bolts in, you can actually still move the pedestal just a 1/16, an eighth of an inch or something back and forth and around. And I thought, I'm going to leave that loose. And then I put these Y pipes on when I rebuilt this truck 2 years ago. And these are special Y pipes, and they got like they're upgraded ones, and they got this little like flexible thing on top. Usually it has like a donut thing in them, and after the years of being on there and being in position and things shaking and rattling, the donuts get worn out, the pipes break, they don't seal, and they leak. So now they have this little flexible stuff. It's like a stainless steel little piece of flex on top of it. And I looked at it, and I wonder if I could bend that a little bit, because it seemed like the top was too far back. And so I reached in there, and I gave it everything I got, and I pulled it, and you could see the flex things move, and I pulled it forward, and I got it to move just a little bit. And I was like, okay. So then I went and got the turbo. I put the turbo in, and as I was pushing it in there, I was hitting on that Y adapter back there. It was too soon in the bolt, and it wasn't ready to drop on. And I sat there thinking this for a second. I thought, I wonder if because there's a pin on the back of the turbo that goes into that Y pipe. There's a little hole. And I could feel that the pin went in. And so then I just pushed the turbo, and it bent that Y pipe back at the right angle that I needed, and the turbo just boom, dropped in. And I grabbed the bolts and hand started them in there, got them turned in 3-4 turns each. Everything was good. The turbo still just had a little bit of movement around. I grabbed my mirror, looked back there, and it was lined up and it was tight. So I said, thank you, God. And he just gave me this little bit of insights when I was doing this, and you know, it just worked out. So I pulled the turbo back out, put the O-rings on, put it all into there, and I left that pedestal loose. And when I got it all lined up, I tightened the front 2 bolts. I tightened those up so the pedestal couldn't move. Then I pulled the turbo out, torqued on the pedestal and everything, got that all in, put the O-rings on there and everything, and popped it back in the same way. I kind of pushed. You could see just a little bit of gap up there. You can see the things are lining. And I got that Y, I got it lined up, and I could feel the pin go in. And then I just pushed it in and down, and it popped right onto place. And got the bolt started and threaded them all in nice, and used the electric ratchet and put them down there so they were pretty close to tight. Still left it all loose. And the turbo could still move just a tiny, tiny bit. And I went back there and I tightened that clamp up, and it was looking really good, but I tightened that clamp up and it just tightened right up, and it's got like a gap like maybe that big on the back, and which is perfect. It's just like the tip of your finger is supposed to go in there. It's not supposed to go tight. And you know, that's if you have that right gap, then you're good. So everything lined up, got the clamp tight back there and everything. And then I torqued down the turbo bolts, and I just hooked up the exhaust, put that clamp on, and that's all lined up and good. Oh, this thing was a beast, and I was actually freaking out about it, because I was thinking I was going to have to take the Y pipes loose. And I'm going to tell you guys, with the cab on here and with the transmission in the truck, it's about impossible to get those things out. It can be done, but it's super, super hard. So I was able to get it. So there we go. So now I get to move on. I got to put my crossover line in. I'll do that first and torque those 2 fittings. I know there's nothing going there, because that electrical sensor wire that goes back there, that's getting deleted. And then I got to put the wire harness, lay the wire harness back down in here and kind of see, does it need to go under these lines, over, or what do we got to do here? Got all the wiring all hooked back up. I got all the lines all tightened down. I've been trying to go very slow and methodical to make sure that everything is all done as I go. It's all looking good. The one thing I did remember is the dipstick. I got to put that dipstick back on the mount on the valve cover and put the nut on there to hold it. Just remember that. And also the AC line is unplugged over there, because I unplug it to get but I thought before I put the air intake on there, get one last shot of that really cool turbo. I don't know what them holes do. They say they're for surge, but that's pretty cool looking. Well, there we go, guys. Everything is done. Everything is plugged back in. Everything is right where we want. All the boots are put on there nice and snug. Everything's cleaned out, all the piping and everything. And everything is tightened up, I think. It's always something you miss. But I don't have the batteries connected yet. I just got done changing the fuel filter, which is right there. But I am changing the oil too. I figured put all fresh oil in here and stuff. I actually probably just did that by adding all the oil I did, because all the leaking. So the oil power was pretty good. But it's time. It needs to be changed. So I'm draining the oil, and while I'm draining the oil, I need to unplug the PCM. It's really dark in here, I'm sorry, but it's right up in here. There's a 10mm bolt that's on here. You take this off, the plug comes off, and then I got to go up underneath the dash and pull the PCM. All right, guys, we got everything done on the truck. Now we need to put the tuner in. This is the PCM. This here comes out of the truck. But there's your old computer chip, and we have to clean this port right down here, and this is all covered with silicone. And you can see there, it's just all this powdery stuff. Got to come all off, and then you can use the brass brush and just continue to keep cleaning it. Alright guys, we got this all cleaned off, all the silicone off of here and everything, and both sides and stuff. And so now we actually get to install the hydro chip. If I can figure out what I did with it. I lost the important part. There's the cable. There's the other cable. Oh, here it is. So this right here. So this is programmed jelly belt. There we go. And this is that part that plugs onto there. And then I have a couple other cables that come with it that they want you to plug in. I think this one is mostly for connecting in the future. You can connect with a laptop with Wi-Fi and put more tunes and stuff, more tuning into your truck. So they give you this here cable with a USB end on it, and this plugs right into the chip right here. Just like so. And then we got these little zip ties right here. Put a zip tie in this cable to make sure that it stays. So that zip ties right in there. My battery just died. I had to go get a plug to plug in my battery. My camera. Clip that off. Clippers are seeing better day. Then this is the cord, and this gets hooked to this chip. Looks like they're the same ends. Yeah, it looks that way. And there's a little notch in there, and that gets lined up in this little plug. Just like so. And then the whole contraption gets fed through here. And then it slides onto that port that we cleaned all up. And these cords hang up. So there it is. So now I can put it all back together. Alright, batteries changed. Yeah, I'm working out in the woods. A lot of guys, they gotta have these fancy shops. I'm doing this out in the woods. So, yeah. So now we have to fix the case that it goes into. This is the case. It mounts like so. Got the X here, the number. This goes towards the fender. So then, and these here and these bolts here go in there. So it's gonna go right in here. So I have to notch the case out so that these cords can go out and the hydro doesn't get interrupted. So basically, So basically that has to be cut out. So I'm going to cut that plastic out of the case and then I'll be back. Alright, so we got her notched out. So my X is over here. These two go towards the wall. This bottom one is a grounding plug. This little dougad fits in there. And then when the screw attaches it in, it grounds. It has like a metal prong here that goes against the case, and I actually had to pull off the case. I had to, it's got silicone on the outside. It's supposed to be a grounding plug to ground out the case of the PCM so it doesn't short out. Well, it's covered with silicone, so how's it gonna ground out? I got it cleaned off there now. Then we feed the cables on through our little hole. I got big fingers, can't get them through there. Yeah, my little grounding thing fell up. So I just kind of gently pull the cables through. And slide it into the case. There you go. So now you can go reinstall this. There's just two screws up in here. This goes through like a rubber grommet that goes through the firewall, and then that plug plugs into the other end of this. And you push it in, it pops into a spot, and then this. And then I got to find a place to run this cable and where I want to mount this. And then this here will plug into here. Well guys, hydro is installed. I've put it in there, mounted it on the dash. I've hooked up the batteries, turned the key on. Light comes on the hydro. It comes across and flashes hydro across the screen, and then you can choose numbers. So that seems to be working. Seems to be communicating with the PCM. But everything is done. Oil's been changed. I've checked everything. Now it's just going to be a lot of cranking. But I thought I'd show you guys these oil catch cans, how I have them mounted. It's right here. I'm hoping that the hood is not going to hit when it comes down here. It's going to be close. I did not put, there's a filter that goes on top of here, a breather thing. I did not put that on there for one reason. Because this is the inlet tube that comes from the valve cover. And this is direct line with that. So if I put that on there, it's going to breathe right out in here. I don't want that to do that. So it's going to be going through there. There's some like it's almost like an SOS pad. It's an old Brillo pad thing. You put it in there and into a little cup thing, and it goes through that, catches the oil, makes a drip down in the bottom of here, and then it'll exhaust out and it goes down, and I have it along the firewall. You can see it running all the way down the frame, and it ends right here at the back of the cab. And on the other side, it's actually a little bit longer, and I have it tucked in on that skid pan that's underneath my gas tank. So both sides are installed. I'll show you the other side. So there you go. So they're all installed and everything. Both pipes coming off of the valve cover that comes up there, they both come up. I think that's going to help to keep a lot of the oil out. The tubing doesn't really match with the whole truck here, the whole blue scheme. I'm not going to put no blue covering over. I actually think it'd be fine. This stuff does not kink and everything. It's really good, and it doesn't mess with fuel, and oil doesn't mess with it. I think it's going to work well. I'm going to give it a try. I didn't want to use like heater hose because the rubber stuff, oil gets all into it and just eats it away. So I'm using this stuff, but being clear, I'll actually be able to see if there's oil going up through there, if there's oil residue that's collecting in there and stuff. So we're going to give this a shot, but now we are all ready to go. Everything is included and everything is put into it. And now it's just a lot of cranking. I'll probably crank for I don't know, you know, like a minute or so, a couple minutes or something like that, crank for, and basically you have to build up oil pressure all back up inside those oil rails and everything else, and you have to do that before the injectors will fire. See if she go this time. Let her cool down and check the oil, and she was down below, just below the ad with putting all the oil up in there. So she should go. Let her cool down for a little bit. So I'm just double checking everything, checking everything over. I'm gonna shut it off in a second, let her all cool down, everything be fine. Now I'm gonna check it all for leaks and stuff, but I haven't seen anything dripping. A little bit of water was dripping over there. It turned out I got the AC on. But you can see the hose on this side, and you can see it venting. So I don't know if you can see that or not. And here's on this side. I don't know if you guys are gonna be able to see this or not. Definitely venting out. So that seems to be working. Already been going. The finishing touches. Are you gonna do that, or?
I'll be
Come on now.
You know you're supposed to push, right? I'm pushing.
Are you gonna start pushing?
I have been pushing.
Jonah, go through this. So the boys clean the front rims up and sand them all down with 80 grit.
Okay.
Now you're trying to make my truck roll down a hill.
I guess so.
And just keep going. And we sprayed the bread liner paint on those rims and everything, and I think it came out pretty good. I also got my back door working. That hasn't worked in like a year. You can see all the stuff running down. I sprayed it and kept working the latch back and forth. It was just stuck, and so I got it all working. So now I actually have a working back door here. Take one. It goes on there. See how it goes on? See those things? They go on the lug nuts. You got to position it.
Oh, okay.
Find lug nuts. And then you give it a smack. Come on now. Get it right. There you go. Come on. You can do it. Oh, I think it's actually on there. You put all your muscle into that one, didn't you?
Yeah. You know you're supposed to put all your muscles into this.
That's the finishing of everything. How long do you think those will last?
Give it 3 minutes. Down to the entrance of the gate.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking the same thing. They're cheap China things.
I know, it felt very plasticky.
Yes, well, they all are. But they're supposed to say Ford on them. But I bought the ones from now. So they don't say Ford.
Are the Ford ones like that too?
Yeah, they're just like that.
plastic too?
Yeah, they're just plastic cover.
So it's from China. How long did it take to get here?
I don't know, a couple days. I don't know.
Oh.
There's probably some warehouse here in the United States. But there we go. It's all finished up. I've taken it out for a test drive. But I tell you what, I had it on daily driver. And I gave her some gas or fuel, diesel. I came out and I pulled out and I didn't see a car coming. There was a little dip in the road and I pulled out and I was like, oh, I'm kind of in his way. I had it on daily driver and I put the pedal down. Whoo, this thing rolls the coal. It smokes a lot. And I was like, okay, I don't need that going around. And I actually put it on to econo mileage. And then I punched it and it doesn't do that. So, and it still has a ton of power, but it went right up to like 60 miles an hour, like nothing. So it's got tons and tons of power. Are you gonna get that or what?
Yeah, come back in 2 business days. I'll get it again.
Go do that for him.
That's right.
What do you mean you tried?
I smashed it.
Yeah, it's being very fun.
Well, that's really...
All yours now, Jonathan.
What are you doing? Nothing. What are you doing?
Nothing.
Well, guys, that completes the build and everything. It's been actually a day since I've had it, and I know that in videos on the 7.3, you always gotta take it for a drive and put the camera in a rearview mirror and punch it and see all the black smoke coming out of it, and it definitely does that. If I put it into the first setting on there, it is the I'm trying to think of what it's called, modified stock. And if I put it into that, and I give her a gas, and it rolls some coal for sure. I actually took her for a drive and I hit the first time and it just raw, just black smoke poured out and I just yikers. That's not what I was after. I wasn't after doing that. I'm not 18 years old anymore. So I just need more power, and that I definitely did get. I think with the stage 2 cam in here and stuff, Jelly Built, I bought this kit from them, and it was a stage 2 kit from them, but it was a stage 1 KC Gen 3 turbo with a 1.5 shot. I think they're 180 over 30 injectors, and you could go up to a full set of 2s, but I decided not to. I didn't need that, and I'm glad I didn't. I think I'd actually been okay with the stage 1 injectors because it has a lot of power, but I guess I have power for use if I need it. But I've noticed a couple times is like, looked on the speedometer, like, whoa, I'm really picking up here. So it is awesome. Everything is working great. No leaks. Thank you. But, you know, I'm going to keep an eye on it, make sure nothing, you know, no hoses or nothing like that, leaks in or nothing like that. But everything seems to be running great. The first day, the first, like, I'd say about 10 startups, it cranked a long time. And I had a check engine light. Every time I started, it would go off after like a minute or so, but it just was on there. This morning, and then yesterday, I took it for a pretty good run. I was out of fuel on all my equipment here. And I took it down 30 miles, ran it down to the truck stop and fueled up with a cheaper off-road diesel. And got down there and I checked everything over. Everything was right where it should be, oil levels and everything. There's no leaks or nothing. And fueled. And when I got back in it and started it, it started right up. Turned the key and just fired right up. And then this morning I got up and went out in the driveway. And I thought, okay, let's see what this does, and turn the key on, let everything preheat, boom, started right up. So it must have been just that the injectors, everything has to get pressurized and air bubbles out of stuff or whatever, I don't know, but everything seems to be working great. and everything is good. I did lose one of these chrome hubcaps I was kidding around with the kids about. I did lose one over there going down to Perga, I think in the first couple miles. I heard I hit a pretty good little pothole thing, and it was boom, it hit it, and then I heard a ting, and I looked back in the mirror and I saw a piece of chrome flying into the grass, and I thought, oh, I had a car right behind me, and I was like, oh, I know where this is. I'll stop on the way back. I looked, I couldn't find it. I did have one rear forward one that we took off. That was the only one I had on this whole truck, and I had that one in the back to throw it away, and I popped that one back on, and I figured that one took the collision on that tire and it stayed on there. It should stay on there. So now I have one forward chrome cover and 3 China ones. The Ford one's probably from China too. It's just all plastic chrome stuff. But yeah, I got one Ford and 3 China. So we'll see which ones last longest. So really happy with it. Next things with this truck, I gotta get a new windshield for it. That crack has gone all the way across, so I gotta get a new windshield put on it. And then I'm going to get new leaf springs in the front. I'm gonna put a 2-inch rise on it because Fords, they always sit down in the front. So I'm going to get a 2-inch lift on the front, just leaf springs with a 2-inch lift. And the leaf springs are they're worn out. You see they're about and stuff. So get those replaced, and then all the steering components in the front, replace all those, and then take it in for an alignment job. And then later on, this cab is going to be going, this bed here is going to be going, and I will design and make a flat bed to put on here. I'm not sure on the hydraulic lift thing. I don't know. I'm not really sure. I have other things. I have dump truck and stuff, so I'm really not sure if that's going to be something I'm going to do or not. But I'm going to put a flatbed on here, and when I do that, I'll also replace the rear springs and put new ones on there because those are original too. So yeah, really happy with this thing. It drives so much different. Engine noise a little bit louder. There's a tick tick noise. It's the injectors. They're more powerful injectors, so they're making more noise. And then of course you got the turbo spooling up and down and stuff. You hear that all the time. And then now you got all brand new tires all the way around, and they actually have these little knobby things on the tires instead of the flat no tread slicks that I had. So there's a little tire howling from that too. But otherwise, it's all great. I joked with the wife. I says, yeah, it's really loud in here. There's like this howling noise. I think they put extra knobs on these tires. And she just was shaking her head at me. But really nice, really happy with it. Performs great, everything's running great with it, so that's awesome. So I could really haul some stuff I need. So that was what we needed, was if we have to haul some heavy stuff, have the power to do that. Yeah, I do have the dump truck that I can hook up to the equipment trailer to haul real heavy stuff, but you know, and if I'm going far, that's probably what I'll end up doing. But this little short will help out somebody or something. I can load up something and go 10-15 miles and no big deal. I could drive hours, no big deal, but I wouldn't probably do that. So I'm gonna let you guys go. I hope everybody out there is having themselves a great day, great night as you watch this here video. And if you're not, you can certainly try that all over again tomorrow. God bless you guys, and I will catch you guys next time.